Welcome. I am Dr. Patrice Berry. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. This sentencing happened today. It's Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt. They covered Ruby first, and then we're going to cover Jody, just the way that the Utah system works. And so both the lawyer and then also Emily D. Baker, those are two lawyers I follow. They're going to be covering the legal aspect of this. So I'm not speaking to the legal part. I'm talking about the psychological impact of this. And Ruby's going to make a statement. We're going to play it, and I'm definitely going to pause it, and we're going to talk about it. If y'all have questions as we're going, please let me know. Just for a brief overview of this case, Ruby Frankie, she is a mother, and she had a YouTube channel with her family. That channel got shut down. She partners with Jody Hildebrandt. She's going to make some things in her statement. She's going to say some things, and I'm going to pause it, and we're going to talk about it. The details of this case are absolutely horrific, and I'm going to let them play. Because of that, the tube might, I don't know, they might not like parts of this video, but I think it's important that we hear what happened. And so just trigger warning, the prosecutor is going to go over just some of those brief details, because honestly, the details in this case go deeper than what he's even just gonna say right here. Um, Yes. So let's go on ahead and get started with this part. Once again, thank y'all for joining, and let's hop right into today's testimony. Gonna make myself a little smaller, gonna make that a little bigger.
In the matter of State of Utah versus Ruby Frankie, Ms. Frankie is here with Mr. Windward, Mr. Clark, and Mr. Sham are here for the State of Utah, and we are ready to proceed with sentencing.
We are.
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, the terms of the sentence were agreed to as part of the plea agreement, correct?
That is correct.
There is a pre-sentence investigation report in the matter. I have reviewed that. Everyone has seen it.
Yes.
What about restitution, counsel, before we move on with other matters?
We'd like to leave that open at this time, Your Honor. I can get into that. I might be more comfortable if we approach to get into that.
Is there an agreement that restitution, that we reserve that and for what period of time?
8 months is what we're anticipating.
And I think part of the reason why they're waiting, so the kids are continuing therapy, they're continuing treatment, and they're not yet back in, I believe they're still in state custody. And I believe it's somewhere later this year, the state is going to decide the custody situation. And so I think that's why they're waiting 8 months to finalize restitution. Those are just my thoughts.
I haven't talked to the defendant's counsel about that.
We haven't discussed that, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No.
All right. What's the state's position regarding sentencing?
Your Honor, the state, I'll stand up. The state respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Frankie to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. This sentence was agreed to by Ms. Frankie in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Frankie and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house where the children and the defendants were staying. The children were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and wall sits or sitting against a wall without a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, at times without shoes or socks. They were forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days at a time. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found. The injuries from the binding to the 12-year-old are particularly awful. In addition to physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused.
In addition to the physical, there was significant emotional. And they're not going to talk about the spiritual harm as well, because this was done in the name of their faith or in the name of religion, or like you're evil. There was a spiritual component as well, and he's not going to talk about that. He's not going to get into that part. Please make sure. So I will pause it at times. This is just so hard. And there's not going to be a real resolution today. Honestly, when I watched, we're going to get real mad about Jody's part. Like we're going to get, when we get to Jody, whew, I'm gonna, and on my last video about Kayla Montgomery, somebody was mad. Lots of people were like, it's unprofessional. You can't put your words together. I don't know. Like some things are just so horrific that you literally can't find the words for it. And even as a licensed psychologist, there are some things that are just so hard and just so difficult that it is difficult to find the words. And so, Denise, we're going to get to the sentence in a minute. But I will say the one thing about Utah is the parole board is the one that really sets the sentence. It's not the judge. So there's going to be a range that the judge is going to set, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Thank y'all for putting any questions. If y'all have questions about this case, please leave them in the chat and I will see them.
Used to the extent that each believed to some degree that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived in that situation.
And if he hadn't run away, this might have been like some of the other cases that we've covered where the people did not survive. Like these kids were severely malnourished. They were being severely harmed. And I don't want to gloss over that.
After being caught, Ms. Frankie has shown considerable remorse, as evidenced by agreeing to serve consecutive prison terms and being willing to cooperate with the state against Ms. Hildebrandt. However, given the severity of the abuse she inflicted, consecutive terms are appropriate in this case. As the court's aware, Section 76-3401 lays out factors the court takes into account in determining whether consecutive or concurrent sentences should be imposed. Those factors are the gravity and circumstances of the offense, the number of victims, and the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate. This is due to the
Once again, I'm not a lawyer. Consecutive just means back to back. So versus the sentence, one sentence. So like if for all 4 counts, if it was 4 years for all 4 counts, it would be 4 years. Consecutive means 4 years for each count. But the judge is going to say, but I think the law just states what's available. And then the parole board is the one that ultimately makes that decision.
The severity of the abuse to both victims. It could be argued that Ms. Frankie should receive a lesser sentence than Ms. Hildebrandt because of her remorse and willingness to cooperate with the state. However, the Board of Pardons and Parole will have broad latitude and will be able to take those facts into account when it determines how long each of the co-defendants will remain incarcerated. In conclusion, we respectfully request that the court go along with what was agreed to in the plea agreement and is recommended by adult probation and parole and impose consecutive sentences.
Thank you. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Windward?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. In my few comments this morning, and the comments my client wishes to make in a few minutes, we are not suggesting, nor are we asking.
Okay, so prepare yourself for all of this, okay? Because we're gonna, She is their mom. And when harm comes from a parent, from a sibling, from someone within your family, it causes additional harm. And what I mean by that is when I'm working with somebody that was harmed by a stranger, now that's different, you know what I mean? Like, I don't wanna but that is different versus somebody that was harmed in their family or by a teacher or by a church leader, because that type of harm, I was supposed to be safe. We we genuinely think these environments are going to be and that can really mess with somebody's idea of what family is very, very early on. So childhood traumas, when things happen like this in childhood, it can just mess with someone's perception about the world, about themselves, about others, about their relationship with a higher being. And Ruby's gonna say some things. I'm gonna pause. I have some thoughts. Here's my disclaimer, my thoughts. I am not her psychologist. I can't talk about what could be going on with her or what is going on with her psychologically because I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing and just making some assumptions based on what I see, and I have some thoughts.
That the court deviate from the stipulated sentence contained in the written plea agreement. I want the court to know that through introspection and reflection, Ruby Frankie has become a serious student of her own actions. In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive, and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive. Fortunately, Ruby came to the stark realization of the errors in her thinking patterns and subsequent actions. To say that she was horrified by this realization would be to put it mildly. I have marveled at how quickly Ruby abandoned her defensive stance and moved toward her total acceptance of her actions and to her sentence today. So far, she has used her time in jail to unwrap the layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual. Ruby realizes that she still has work to do in shedding those thinking errors and to reestablish a better and correct pattern of thinking and behavior. Ruby realizes that changing her thinking, reestablishing relationships, and healing are not simple or easy tasks. However, she is committed to doing that work. I would like the court to know that Ruby Frankie is a delightful, respectful, and responsible person. She is open to feedback and addressing the consequences of her actions head on, and now ready to address your honor and accept your judgment. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you. Ms. Frankie has a statement she'd like to make.
She does.
Judge Walton.
You don't have to bend down.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion.
So she starts with accepting responsibility. This is going to be way better because Jody's going to make a statement as well. And her statement is trash. Her statement is, ugh. So this is going to be, but it's going to get weird. Okay, we're going to keep going.
My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect.
It's so interesting that according to Ruby, Jody was saying that her husband refused, but like they're the ones doing the harm and they're the ones that allegedly kept him from even being able to protect his children from them. Like this that was interesting to say that these are the things that these are part of the delusion. This is part of what she was made to believe. And um that's all I have to say about that part. Let's keep going.
And children who need abused.
And I'm glad she didn't say discipline because I think Jody's lawyer is gonna try to call it that was not discipline, that was harm. That was pure harm. And so I'm glad that she called it exactly what it was.
Choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner.
So did y'all hear that? She just said Jody Hildebrandt was never my business partner. Sh- she's gonna go deeper. I'm gonna let it play and we're gonna talk. I'm gonna let this part play and then we are definitely gonna chat.
Nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
It's my preference that I serve a prison sentence, but let's go back to the whole Jody thing. So Jody was hired to work with their son in 2019. And then so she's saying, because according to the website, it looked like they were partners in the connections thing. And if that's true, if she truly received no pay from connections, then Jody was truly exploiting her. So I thought that Jody was kind of exploiting Ruby. Ruby is a lot so she's kind of the classic beauty almost, like she's sorry, not Jody, Ruby. Ruby is kind of that classic beauty. Ruby, she I think has better interpersonal skills. Jody to me comes across harsh and mean, like in general. Like that's just when I watched videos of them, Jody comes across very harsh, very judgmental. Ruby could kind of come off that way too, but she has a way of playing it up, I think. Like to me, Ruby's a better actress. There's no other word. The only word I have is actress. And I don't know, I truly hope that this is true remorse. I don't know if it is. I don't know. I don't know. But it does seem like her ability to turn on Jody, that made me think that she truly was thinking about herself and she really truly was looking at coming out of this and accepting responsibility for her part. And her whole statement, the hospitals that injure, like that everything was bad, police, everything is bad. And I think I think Jody really did have a bit of a cult, a very high control, high demand. It does sound like Jody did have a bit of a cult. I've done former videos on recognizing the signs of cult like behavior, how to free yourself from that. I still think that she is doing a performance. I was watching it on, is it Daddy? I was watching on somebody else's stream and they said it was like she was giving an acceptance speech. I forget. I'm bad with names. I think he has dad in his name. If y'all put it in the chat, I'll definitely remember. Susan, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. And once again, let me know if y'all have any questions or anything for me. There was definitely an appearance of a partnership, and to me, Ruby definitely promoted connections and definitely was a major role, I think, especially with their YouTube thing. Yes, I was watching it on Challenge podcast because he had the audio before anybody had the video up. The video, Law and Crime released it on delay because I think the court didn't allow live video streaming. So I listened to the audio there.
Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Iron City Police, Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pikuvit, Mike Pandoyo in Tobler, John Ward, Dee Lewis, and Chief Flowers. You were the angels who came and saved my children.
I've never heard somebody thank the officers but maybe she's trying to rehabilitate her image because her initial image was being very aggressive and angry and defiant towards the police. So that was weird to me, her thanking the police officers. Now, they are literally the ones that saved her children's life. What about that neighbor? That poor neighbor that 911 call, ooh, that was very, very hard to listen to.
I especially want to thank Detective J. Bate. She plucked me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom. You were not the controlling ones. I was. Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped heal my children. Jody and I inflicted the injuries, not the hospital. Thank you to DCFS, the Children's Justice Center, Judge Basil, and other key adults. You've gathered my children under your wing and offered them love, compassion, encouragement. You were not the ones who were doing the brainwashing. Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president, Jim Nelson, for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain.
This is going to seem, so to me, from where I'm sitting, this seems to be her, to me, she's making her, to anybody else feel like she's in victim mode to you? Like, and I don't think she apologized. So she did apologize to the children on the last video. She didn't apologize to the children. And from my recollection, we're going to keep going. I don't think she apologizes to Kevin. Like she's over here thanking all of these people. And she does admit, like, I'm the one that inflicted the harm. But it felt weird to me. Okay, good. I'm glad it wasn't just me. Like it seemed like she was trying way, way, way too hard. But I think that's her personality type. Like I think her personality is very, look at me. I need to be the center of attention. Like it seems to me. I don't know her personally. From watching her content, from watching things that she said and done, it seems like she does that. Those are just my thoughts. General thoughts. Let's keep going.
Suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Thank you to the Washington County Prosecutor's Office, Ryan Sham, the legal assistants and discovery clerks. Eric Clark, you exemplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist. My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me.
Safety to my family. And so I think she's saying right now my family needs to be safe from me, and that these charges help keep my family safe from me. That's what I heard in what she said. And once again, this is going to be 20 times better. So when I was mad when I listened to this, but then after I heard Jody, I was like, Ruby did fine. Jody's the worst, the absolute worst, like still is the absolute worst.
Thank you to my attorney, Lamar Winward, and his staff. I would not be where I am today without them.
Like it seems like she's accepting an Oscar or something. Good. So I'm not laughing so we laugh to keep from crying. Okay. So it went a bit over the top for me personally. It went a bit too far for me personally.
Thank you to Randy Kester for your limitless energy in healing my family. My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Kevin's family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and neighbors, you all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away. My mother and father, I have been utterly wretched to you. You have offered me unconditional love, and for that I have offered you unconditional contempt.
Is Pam the one that made the kids work? Is Pam the one that got free labor out of the kids? Is that Pam? Do we have the video of Pam getting interviewed? I think so. So within those religious groups, sometimes children are used for labor. If that's the Pam, if I'm thinking of the right Pam, yeah. I think she had people visiting from out of the country or something, and the kids were helping her clean. I think she did give them some ice cream, but still, within religious groups, I've seen that a lot. The religious groups thrive off of volunteerism, and often like service is viewed very, very high. And I'm a Christian, so just I'm very liberal, very, very liberal. I'm very liberal, but and I had to undo some of my thinking. I'm thankful that I'm in um a religious community that supports we have similar beliefs, and so I'm thankful for that. But and I think she's I'm gonna keep going. And if you want to see the full video without my interruptions, I have it linked in the description for the people on replay.
My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I've dragged your families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as a prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran up to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life.
Run, Kevin, run. Kevin, do not look back. Kevin, keep going. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. Kevin, focus on those kids. Help those kids heal. Kevin, just keep going.
So sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy.
The ending of my marriage. She seems more upset about the ending of her marriage. Like she seems really, but within religious communities, like that can definitely be a thing. So I'm not a fan of Kevin either, but it sounds like Kevin, he's likely had to jump through some hoops by the state, and he likely has supervised visitation, and at some point, just the way that our child laws are. I am an advocate for a national child harm registry. So, what I mean by national is if somebody is investigated in Newport News, Virginia for something with a child, if they move to Florida, I want Florida to be able to easily look up and see in like a national system. So, right now, a lot of that stuff, it can be hard to get the jurisdiction. Like a lot of our things are localized because even in my state, and I've mentioned it before, where if somebody just moves counties, sometimes that new county might not pick up if that child isn't in foster care, if it's just still in the investigation phase. Like sometimes just what one city thinks is harm, another city might not, say that another city might say that's unfounded. And so our child welfare system is so broken. I might do a video covering, because there was a hearing a while back on just on the state of the child welfare system. I might do that. I haven't decided yet. Oh, this is just difficult. Uh, but between her and Kevin, like, she was clearly the more harmful one. Like, if we're um, yes. And parents are allowed to be, like, I'm just gonna say it, like, are allowed to be bad parents, but, like, what the state finds is actually harmful, that can be difficult. And emotional abuse is incredibly difficult to prove. Some of the things he did, to me, he allowed Ruby to have a lot of control, and then also, I think some of their religious stuff I think he has some strong thoughts on TikTok and stuff like that, but according to his, online professor reviews, but
Really wrapped around my heart, and that I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently watering you to safety. I can see now over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger.
hold on. I think I need closed caption because I couldn't hear some of that. I'm gonna have to go back just a little bit. Her talking about being a parent. I'm gonna try to play that part again. That part sounded I couldn't hear what she was saying.
My 6 little chicks, you were part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently watering you to safety. I can see now, over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I remember launching into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented, but I believed dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from her all that was soft.
Okay, so if you only had one, like, if you're using headphones, like, I had to put both headphones in to hear her better. Like, something I don't know. The feed, the audio, so if you wanna go back and hear that portion, she does say something to the children, something about she was supposed to be a safe mama duck, and she wasn't, but we're gonna keep going.
And safe and good. I took from her the mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. And I'm still crying for hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me, where I have broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I have betrayed sacred trust. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all evidence to me how wrong I've been. This world is full of really good people. And finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines. My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident. And Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue on.
The sad thing is I do think that a parole board, I think she'll probably be out in, like, the minimum required. Honestly, like, I think she'll be out, relatively quickly, like, once she's served her minimum sentence. Um Yeah.
Gathering all of this information I have believed and thought, swallowed and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Thank you, Jody.
At least she was able to admit that she has some toxic layers and she wants to shed that. I don't know. Like, a part of it seemed surface. I think, I don't know. It's, she's a hard one because sometimes you don't know what's the show and what's authentic. And this could totally be her authentic self. And she might play up some of her emotions and things. And that might have been a way that she got attention in a large family or something. But something some things just don't sit right with me.
Walton.
Thank you for your statement, Ms. Frankie. Anything else, Mr. Windward?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else prior to the court imposing sentence?
No, Your Honor.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that that consecutive sentences are appropriate. Ms. Frankie, the last thing I do need to tell you is that you have only 30 days to file.
He's going to talk about the appeal process. Let's skip ahead to Jody. And they're going to ask to take a little break. They might have cut out the break. Let me skip ahead to that part. Yeah. Natalie. Hey, Natalie. Natalie Lawyer Chick is here on YouTube. Natalie is amazing. Okay, let's go back. Okay. All right. So let's play from here.
Utah versus Hildebrandt, case 231501763. Counsel are present. Ms. Hildebrandt is present. Counsel, there is a pre-sentence investigation report. I have read it. Everyone has seen and reviewed that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, the sentence was stipulated at the time of the plea agreement. What record do we need to make other than going forward with sentencing?
Your Honor, it would be repetitive. I had the same statement, just with the last few paragraphs where I was differentiating between Ms. Frankie and Ms. Hildebrandt.
Okay, let's talk about housekeeping matters first. What about restitution?
We've stipulated to keep that open for 8 months.
It is appropriate, Your Honor, since we don't have any evidence with respect to restitution, and that's because it is still in the process of being gathered by the county attorney's office. It's completely appropriate for the court to make no orders with respect to restitution other than to reserve all issues regarding restitution, and we have no issue with the eight-month time frame.
And the injunction that was previously issued by the court will remain in effect.
It will.
At least until that time.
It will remain in effect until further order of this court.
All right.
So there's an injunction about the sale of her home to make sure that she doesn't liquidate assets and that she does have funds available for restitution when needed.
Mr. Clark.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Once again, prepare yourself. It's going to be some of the same horrific details at the beginning. So I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. There is a difference towards the end.
Held 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting in her house in Ivan City. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house. They were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs.
Okay. So the part that makes this so horrific for me is the fact that she was a licensed therapist. Now, she was acting as a coach. So her connections wasn't now I think they build the Mormon church for therapy and but her license has been suspended, has been like she can no longer practice counseling in the state of Utah or like in her state ever again. And but it's because of these charges, it's because of all of this, and she relinquished her license. She had had a former complaint by Adam. I covered that on a previous video. He was a former client. She broke confidentiality and was supposed to attend things for ethics, and she tried to make herself the victim in that case as well. In my opinion, Jody is the more sadistic of the two. Jody, just based on hearing Jesse's story. Jessie is Jody Hildebrandt's niece, who was required to go and live with her for a period of time to get help. And she was tormented and tortured during that period of time. Jody does have her own children. It's my understanding that they do. She at least has a daughter. And it's my understanding that they are estranged and the daughter does not talk to her at all. And according to Jesse, so we don't know, but according to Jesse, the Jody's daughter, like, because Jody is so good at convincing you of things that you would believe the sky was red if even though you can see it's blue, you would believe whatever she told you. And so that's why it's my understanding Jody's daughter does not have any contact with her. Let's keep going.
And doing wall sits or sitting against a wall without assistance of a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, often without shoes or socks. And they were also forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization to treat. The injuries from the binding are particularly bad. In addition to the physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused. They each believed to some degree that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the two children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived.
And they never bring up the spiritual harm as well. And I want to point this out because the Mormon church is really good at kind of squashing bad press. And they use a lot of the influencers, a lot of their popular Mormon influencers to kind of, I don't know, like to spread, I don't know, to spread their message. They probably view it as an evangelism type torch, type thing. And Ruby's probably trying to get back in the good graces of her church. Now she could probably sue the church. So I don't know if a bishop recommended Jody. I don't know how Ruby found Jody. I don't know, but it's just it's that it's horrific. All right, let's keep going.
After being caught, Ms. Hildebrandt has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, she's repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators. She has gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies. The combination of three factors make Ms. Hildebrandt a significant threat to the community. First, the severity of the abuse she caused to be inflicted on young children. Second, her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned. And third, her training as a therapist and aptitude for using online resources to convince others to follow her guidance. Utah Code Section 76-3401 lays out three factors the court should consider in determining whether to impose concurrent or consecutive sentences. The first is the gravity and circumstances of the offense. The second is the number of victims.
I wonder if Ruby's lawyer was kind of, if he knew where the cameras were, because to me, they weren't able to get a good picture of Ruby. Like it seemed like her lawyer was kind of standing in the way. We're getting a clear view of Jody, and I see nothing. Like it's just nothing. Nothing. Ugh, ugh. That's my professional opinion, and I know it's not professional. It's not. I'm not at work right now. Like people that get mad about me having difficulty finding my words. It's like this is free content on YouTube. Like I'm human. This is bad. Like this is horrific. Sometimes you just don't have words. Okay.
And that there is a history, character, and rehabilitative need of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate here. This is due to the severity of the abuse to the two victims and the extreme need for Ms. Hildebrandt to be rehabilitated so that she no longer will present a risk to the community. The state respectfully requests that she be sentenced to 4 consecutive terms.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Terry?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be brief. As is always the case in cases that come before courts, there are 2 sides to every case. And
2 sides. And I'm trying to not yell because just in case. 2 sides. Sir, you can sit back down. There are 2 sides to every side. Like, so I don't know if y'all know, I don't use a lot of cursey words because it's just like my natural, like I just don't. I do curse when it's clinically appropriate. And I would like there are 2 sides, sir. She did all the things. She did it. This was her fault. There is no other side. The kids were innocent. The kids did nothing wrong. The things they were punishing them for was like normal kid, like not even like, so Timothy, no, that wasn't RF. Timothy Ferreter was the father. RF had some problems. RF, like, took stuff he did that didn't belong to him at school and stuff like that. Like RF, now he didn't deserve abuse. He did not deserve harm. These kids did nothing wrong. Because remember, when Jody had it in her mind that you were sinning or that you were, because I think her idea, she thought using a tampon was masturbation. And like, she thought like stupid, like ridiculous things. Like, no, like, have you ever, what? Like I just can't with her. I can't. I just can't. And for him to say 2 sides, that there are 2 sides. No, sir. No. There is the children and there is the abuser. And she's the harm. Those kids were absolutely innocent. Okay. I'll get off my soapbox for now. I'm going to get right back on it cuz I'm glad I don't have anything I could throw. I just I'm going to use my skills.
as and even in a case like this, that remains the case. There are many allegations regarding these 2 individuals, Ms. Frankie and my client, Ms. Hildebrandt. The only facts in this case that are adjudicated facts are those set forth in the plea agreement that she entered into freely and knowingly and voluntarily. Those facts, those adjudicated facts are significant. They certainly provide a basis for the pleas and provide a basis for the stipulated sentence in this case. My experience with Ms. Hildebrandt is that she is not the person that she has been portrayed to be.
I don't care, sir. Sir, she's not going to be mean to you. You're the lawyer that's supposed to get her out. She's what? 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 Oh, I can't. I can't.
But having said that, she has accepted responsibility in this case. She has entered into this plea agreement with a stipulated sentence of 4 consecutive sentences. She did that at the time She entered into the plea agreement knowing that that would be the court's order. She is before the court today knowing that that will be the court's order, and she fully accepts that. She accepts responsibility and she accepts the consequences for her conduct.
Those are the words that her lawyer knows the judge needs to hear. Those are not the words that Jody is going to say. We're going to hear Jody's words. Those are not Jody's words. In my opinion, it seems like those are her lawyer's words, who's trying to help his client.
And we will submit it to the court on the stipulated agreement.
Mr. Terry, you suggested that there are two sides to every case. I generally agree with you. Ms. Hildebrandt didn't make a statement to AP&P in the course of the pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read, Your Honor.
So it's my understanding. So I think the P&P, I think that's the Parole and Probation Board. I think that's what it stands for. She did not give a statement to them. Red flag. Red flag. She didn't give a statement. And the statement she's about to give is absolute trash. And we have to watch it anyway. I'm going to do my best. But why?
Okay.
And
All right. Ms. Hildebrandt? Go ahead.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal.
If that's love, you can have it. You can have it. Hate me. If that's love. No, ma'am. No, that is not love. I sincerely love. No, ma'am. I think she still blames them. No. I couldn't even get 2 seconds in. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just going to get worse. Oh, okay. I'm going to keep going.
Physically and emotionally.
I'm going to back up. We're going to get mad again.
Go ahead.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor, I knew that whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Ms. Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was along.
I love this judge. We're going to go back to hear that again. Does she realize? Like, I love this judge. I love it.
With me.
In her. Ms. Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie, that she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children. That
abuse, sir. Abuse. That was not discipline. Discipline teaches. Discipline, that was pure harm. That was unsafe. That was illegal. That's why she has the crimes. That's why she's in gray and white stripes. It was harm. That was not discipline.
were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Y'all. So okay, let's keep going because the judge is gonna.
Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic. It's what happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be, again, served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The last thing I do need to tell you is that you only have 30 days to file or perfect an appeal of any error of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that, you will lose your right to appeal. That has to be filed in writing and again within 30 days. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney and to have an attorney appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Thank you. We're in recess.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Y'all. So I was not expecting her lawyer to say the whole 2 sides thing. The 2 sides to every story. No. I truly hope all the best for the kids. I hope they're able to continue because I think they are currently in treatment, and I hope that they continue in treatment, that they continue to heal mentally, physically, spiritually, just in every possible way. They did nothing wrong. They did absolutely nothing wrong. A little later today, so in about 30 minutes, so about 2:30, was it 2:30? I think it's 2:30. I'm going to cover the Harmony Montgomery. There was an old friend of Adam Montgomery that testified today, and I wanted to cover a portion of her testimony because I think it's pretty powerful in the case, I think. And so now on cross-examination, so I don't know what the jury's going to be left with, but I'm going to cover that a little bit later today. There's only one side, and those kids, I'm so glad that they escaped because that's literally, he had to escape. And I've seen pictures of that shelter, of like that survival, like where they were in her home. And it really is a miracle that he got out. I'm so thankful that neighbor saw that something was wrong and immediately called the police. So forgiveness is a weird thing. So I don't think it should be just because she's your mom, just because spiritually, I think this should be their choice. So to me, however they find peace, because some people can find peace without calling it forgiveness. So I think they have a long road ahead. I think I think they need to forgive themselves, especially the one who escaped. Because when he escaped, he's the one that set all of this in motion. And in my experience, that one is often the one that has the most symptoms. I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So the person that told, because he wasn't asking to be saved, all he wanted was some water and some food. That was all he wanted. He didn't realize that he was being harmed. Like, I think he thought, I deserve this. I have these distortions and I deserve this. That child, because because of his action, they ended up in they needed to be in foster care. They needed to be removed from their parents' care. Their mother needed to go to jail. Those kids might love Jody. Does that make ugh. Those kids, like, they might have looked up to her. Those kids might have positive feelings towards Jody. And so these kids, they have a really, really, really long road ahead of them. I hope they have some very skilled people working with them. My dissertation was on forgiveness. I don't, because there are people that sometimes at the like if somebody harms a family member and they get up to let them know, I don't forgive you. Like, what you did was wrong. I wish I had my relative here. You made the wrong choice, and I don't forgive you. Some people get up and make those types of statements. Um, for me personally, in my own life, I believe forgiveness is a choice. I have a video on forgiveness. If you check out, I think it's on the therapeutic resources playlist. I think forgiveness, it's not forgetting. Forgiveness is not saying that whatever happened was okay. And I can forgive and still seek justice. I can forgive and still press charges. I can still testify against you. To me, so what that hurt and pain can do, and self forgiveness is often the hardest. So that's why I bring up the fact I think these kids are going to have to forgive themselves and know that they in no way did anything wrong. Harm like this, when it's by a family member, can really, really be confusing. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Um, so with their thank you, Karen, for putting the for because Night Robot did his thing. I have a book, Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. What about that third lady that had what she did, I it didn't reach a level, so she didn't make them scrub the floors until their hands were bleeding, or so those kids didn't have physical injuries. Does that make sense? So, child labor gets murky because her parent gave permission for the children to go and help, and so Ugh. And those types of religious groups, service is often highly valued. And what Jody and Ruby did is they made them like do squats until they like for hours. They had bruises. These kids had physical injuries based on the physical harm that was happening to them. What that family friend did, um so when I was a kid, if a family friend was like, my mom might say like, "Hey, so and so wants you to help them in their garden, and they're going to pay you like $20 to do it." Sure. Or, your aunt needs some help with cooking for Christmas or something. But it was always my choice about whether I went or not. I think choice is important, but that's just me personally. I really appreciated the judge, and the judge did not oversee some of that BS. And I completely agree. You can have repercussions. I think justice is incredibly important, and um, justice can always look different. I'm not always happy with the result. I think Ruby is probably going to get less time. I think Jody, I don't know that she's going to be able to show the remorse and all of that. And I think because Jessie is committed, Jessie Hildebrandt, Jody's niece, is committed to showing up to those parole hearings, talking about why Jody should stay there. And then Cassie, when you see this a little later, I wasn't saying that the person was innocent or not innocent. All I'm saying is that there's a really strict rule of what constitutes a crime. And technically what Pam did, like, it didn't rise to the level of a crime, but Yes. Let me know what you think. So anyone that checks out the book, it's a bit of a resource. I wrote it in the midst of COVID, and it has a lot of tools. The first half is just on surviving, because sometimes when you're in a crisis, when you're coming out of a crisis, you just need to get through it, and it has some really practical ways to get through a crisis. And then the next half, the last 6 chapters, are on thriving. So, and I have some resources and things linked. If y'all ever are looking for resources, let me know. I'm not sure. I'm sure Long Crime talked about it. I'm sure Jesse's gonna go on the like there will probably be people asking them for interviews today. So I'm sure Jesse's gonna be out there. But all right. So that's it for this stream. Make sure Emily D. Baker's covering this today. Also, Peter, a lawyer I know he's covering it. I saw Natalie. I'll probably go back and watch whatever she said about this hearing over on Law and Crime. Y'all, drink your water, breathe. I hope that y'all enjoy the rest of your day.